What's going on, everyone? Man, it's been a minute since I've done a video on a gaming console, and let me tell you, this is a very exciting one because I've already done the Nintendo DS, the original one, the DSi, the DS Lite, and I believe the Game Boy Micro as well, even the Game Boy Advance SP, dude. I've done almost all of them. But one of the consoles I have not talked about is actually the Nintendo 3DS, and what's really important about this console is it's one of the very few consoles that I still play. I think I own like all the Nintendo handheld consoles, but this is the one, actually its bigger brother, the 3DS XL, but I do occasionally pick up my 3DS every once in a while, and I have so much love for this console, man, and I kind of want to take a second, talk about it, see how it's holding up in 2019. I don't want to take too much of your guys' important time, but I love this console too much to not talk about it, man. But to kind of give you guys a recap, this thing actually came out in 2011, man. That's like 7 years ago, 8 years ago. That's crazy. And this was actually the successor to the Nintendo DSi, and this was a pretty big upgrade in my opinion, and probably in everyone else's opinion as well. You know, looking around the body, you can definitely tell. I mean, everyone has seen something like this, you know, whether it's a DS, the DS Lite, whatever it is. It's a very familiar design. It's that clamshell. You can close it, open it, whatever you want to do with it. What's interesting about it though, and looking at about it now, is that this thing had a dual camera setup on the outside, which is pretty funny because this came out in 2011, and now we have like dual camera sensors everywhere. So could it be a possibility that the Nintendo 3DS hyped up the dual camera setup legacy that we see now? Man, it could be a possibility, man. But and the color I have is red, and I really do like this color. I have a black DS Lite, I have like a blue and crimson black, whatever, 3DS XL, and I definitely think this red one is probably one of my favorite colors. Opening it up, we have the single camera inside, and the reason why this thing was so popping, and the reason why the 3DS was called the 3DS in the first place, was because of the 3D toggle. That top screen above, you could actually enable that 3D toggle, and you would be able to get the effect of playing like actually like three-dimensional games in a way. Not like 3D games where it's like a 3D like first person shooter or whatever. It's actually like you would feel like the screen is popping above the screen. I think you guys know what like three-dimensional images are or whatever, but honestly, in my opinion, looking at it in 2019, this 3D toggle thing was such a novelty. I never used that 3D option at all, and honestly, when I started using it in the beginning with, it really hurt my head and my eyes after a certain amount of time, and Nintendo actually recommends people not to use it for prolonged periods of time, and I'm right there with them. I would not recommend people using the 3D toggle that much anymore. Honestly, it probably won't affect your eyesight or anything, but that is definitely like a novelty. Sometimes I don't even remember that thing's there. So feeling wise though, it still feels pretty premium, at least for like a gaming console. You know, I think this is pretty much comparable to like a Nintendo Switch, but because this thing is a little bit old, if you're probably going to get it used, the body is a little creaky, you know, if you're kind of pressing it here and there, the buttons might not feel solid. The joystick, in my opinion though, is one of the coolest parts of it, because that definitely has held up the test of time. And one awesome thing about this, and what I'll get into in a second, is actually the SD card slot, which the DSi had as well. This thing maintains that, as well as the 3DS card slot, so that's really cool. And the main thing and the main hype around the 3DS right now would definitely be, in my opinion, the game selection. I've said this for years now, man. The games you have for this thing are really what makes it. And obviously, you know, it's kind of obvious, but the games are phenomenal. You know, you have all of the 3DS games, you have all the DS Lite games as well, the original DS games. You have all of those options, which, you know, that's tons and tons of great games. You could play this thing forever and not run out of any games to play, whether it's Mario or Spyro, Mario Kart, Zelda. The games for this thing are endless, and dude, I would probably tell you that's the best thing about this specific gaming console. You know, I know like the PSP, the Go, the PS Vita, I mean, I've owned all of those. I like those ones a lot. They have a special place in my heart too, but Nintendo's gaming selection and their gaming library is just on another level. PSP games and PS Vita games probably have better graphics, but the storylines on the Nintendo games are just so much better in my opinion. Now that kind of hits on the basic stuff everyone's going to talk about, the gaming selection, all that stuff, but the 3DS that I have is actually modded. So I did mod this, I think like last year, and I'm able to play like homebrew games and backup games or whatever games I own legally and all that stuff. And in my opinion, that just adds a whole new layer to this console, you know, and that's really a main thing I would recommend people to do. I mean, obviously, you know, make sure you're on the right version and all that stuff before you go and try to mod this thing, but I definitely do think modifying your gaming console, doing things the right way and everything, that can definitely add so much more life into a console such as this. And I was thinking about doing it, but I don't know if I want to. If you guys want an updated 2019 tutorial on modifying your 3DS or 3DS XL or whatever, leave a like or leave a comment or something, and I'll probably end up doing it if I see a lot of people wanting me to do it. So, and funny fact, even my DSi and my Nintendo DS Lite were all modded. Even though I don't play games at all, I just love doing it. It's just so much fun. I just feel like it's rooting or jailbreaking your phone, but it's just a gaming console. I'm just like so into that. So I'd highly recommend that. Kind of moving on to the battery life side of things, I would definitely tell you if you're on the non 3D function. So first of all, don't even use the 3D function, but if you're going to use it, that's going to suck up quite a bit of battery. If you're on stock and you don't have that option enabled, I would probably say that your battery life will be pretty good overall, depending on the brightness and whether you have Wi-Fi on or off and all that stuff. But because this thing is kind of old, the battery might have degraded. I mean, I will definitely tell you 100%, your battery on your 3DS has degraded. I'm not going to say it probably has, because I know it has. 7 or 8 years of constantly using a device over and over again can cause degradation. So your battery is not at that full 100% capacity. It's probably more so like 80% capacity, maybe even a little bit less depending on the condition of it. So even though mine is quite a bit old and all that, I still think it's pretty solid. And if you go and like take it on a road trip or something, I think you'll be perfectly fine. It takes the same charger as like a DSi or something, so you'll be set in my opinion. Now, the really only bad thing I can think of the 3DS, maybe the size, maybe the screens are a little bit too small for people nowadays, but also the thickness. This thing is pretty thick, man. That's thick with two C's. I don't think there's anything wrong with thickness. Mom always said, flaunt what you got, whatever, right? But I wish it was a little bit skinnier, but ultimately, it's really not that big of a deal. I mean, you're probably going to throw it in your book bag anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But how I would wrap this whole entire thing up, man, ultimately, the 3DS is a great gaming system. You can literally pick one up for like $40, man. Like, what is that? You probably make that in like 20 minutes, so it's really not even that big of a deal. And if you plan on picking one up, I would highly recommend you to mod it, man. You can do a lot of fun things with it when it is modded, but even on stock, it's still awesome. Go to GameStop, pick up like 30 games. I would probably not recommend doing that. Go get them on eBay or something for much cheaper. Ultimately, man, I would highly recommend picking one of these things up, man. They are so awesome, and I still love talking about it even in 2019. But that's pretty much all I want to hit on. If you guys enjoyed the video, definitely hit that like button. Leave some comments. Do you guys own a 3DS? Let me know your experience with it down in the comment section below. Hit that subscribe button. That'll mean so much. Literally, every single subscriber means so much. So it'll mean so much you guys could hit that. Also, check out the other links down in the description as well. My Twitter, my Instagram, my second channel. All those links are linked down below. I would really appreciate if you guys could check it out. But more importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.